My subject for today is looking back at the revival of Indian street food and chaats. So for me, it is no coincidence that the word chaat rhymes with the word heart. Right from the living rooms on Altamount Road in Mumbai and the weddings of Umaid Bhavan Palace to the chaotic streets of Old Delhi, chaat and street food are omnipresent in India. Today, through my talk, we will delve into this category of foods within Indian cuisine by presenting various historical evidences, ancient texts, and traditional accounts on what is chaat and how it has revived. When it comes to Indian street food, the sheer accessibility of them binds people together. No matter what their social or economic status is, street food forms a part of the collective Indian culinary identity, irrespective of our background, of region, of affordability. The love for street food and chaat is similar to a religion that suits everybody. You don't like the spiciness of tikha pani puri? Then let the sweet potato tikki chaat soothe your palate. You don't like the zero texture dahi vada? Then let the crunchy charcoal cooked kebab rescue you. Unable to get your kids to eat vegetables? In comes the Frankie. The road to our hearts is certainly paved with chaat thelas. Talking about the origin of chaat and street food. The most debated subject when it comes to chaat isn't that what is better, the chaat in Bombay or the chaat in Delhi. It is the origin of it. So according to one story, when Emperor Shah Jahan, whose picture I have found here, fell ill, the royal Hakim advised him to eat food that was loaded with spices and that would help him strengthen his immunity. The palace Khansama, who was really wise at that time, cooked a dish that was light on the stomach but tasty at the same time, and thus was born chaat. There is another legend from the same period that said about a canal, probably the river Yamuna, that got tremendously polluted during the Mughal period. That was the water that was supplied to local homes, because of which the court Hakim advised everybody in the city to eat pani puri. He asked them to put a lot of healing herbs, spices such as tamarind, coriander, and mint into their panis, and thus was born chaat. Though I believe that these are just old wives' tales. A version of dahi vada can be traced all the way back to Manosolasa, an early 12th century Sanskrit text that's compiled by Kalyani Chaluka, in which King Someshwar III shares much social cultural information that gives us a peek into Chalukya dynasty's culinary life. This is one of the English adaptations of that book. The scripture mentions the existence of dishes that combine the vadas, purikas, similar to the puris of pani puri or the papri, curd, a variety of spices, and imagine this to have been around in Indian cuisine around 12th century. Although chaats may have become well defined during the Mughal period, I believe that they existed as early as the 12th century in India. Across India, each street food has its own unique story of origin. A dish called sundal, which some of you may be familiar with, finds a mention in literature dating all the way back to the Chola period. One of the references mentions the Chola royals snacking on roasted peanuts with a sprinkling of fresh coconut, similar to what I think may be the current day sundal. This is available even today in Tamil Nadu, and it's the first thing I personally eat as soon as I land on Chennai airport. Then we have the railway cutlet and the railway mutton curry that originated during the British Raj. The British did not want to eat kebabs with their hands. So the locals in Kolkata innovated to roll the meat up in a paratha, and thus was born the kathi roll. Chinese bhel, a snack made of chutneys and fried noodles, is an illustration of Indo-Chinese exchange, which traces back to the Hakka Chinese traders who settled in Calcutta in the late 1700s when it was the capital of the British Empire of India. While Bombay sandwich is said to have originated to feed the immigrant workers who thronged the city during the mill industry boom in 1960s. In 1969, Indian hockey player Amarjeet Singh Tibb visited Beirut. On his return, he introduced Indian inspiration of the shawarma, now known as the Frankie. It was named after the West Indies cricket player Frank Worrell. The first Tibb Frankie opened in Mumbai in 1969, and there has been no looking back for the last 53 years with over 160 outlets. Another interesting fact among the poetic narrations of Vijayanagar is the work of Kanakdasa. The poet's commentary on the lifestyle of Vijayanagar reminded me of the buzzing streets of Spain. As you'd find tiny tapas bars selling small bites and wine here, in Vijayanagar, sorry for comparing Spain to Vijayanagar, but it is what it is, you would find tiny toddy shops that served a large range of salted snacks to be eaten along with liquor, says Kanakdasa. Describing the moods on the street, he talked about how people drank and babbled. The colorful marketplace sold coconut, jackfruit, orange, mango, sweet, citrus, guava, grapes, pomegranate, wood apple, ink nut, berries, and other wild berries and grasses. Today, each Indian state has its own interpretation of these dishes, but what binds chaats and street foods across the country is the traditional cooking techniques like tandoor cooking, sigris, earthenware pots, and other equipments that are used to cook street food. Furthermore, the traditional way of cooking and serving them promotes a sustainable way of living through the usage of local seasonal ingredients and biodegradable packaging such as the kullar, or for the ingredients to be wrapped in leaves. So what is the difference between street food and chaat? There is an ongoing debate that questions if all chaat is the same as street food. The answer is simple. All chaat is street food, but not all street food is chaat. For example, a Bombay sandwich or a Bihari kebab is street food, but that isn't chaat. But a pani puri is considered a street food and chaat at the same time. By the way, that's me making pani puri with Chef Ranveer Brar. Street food can most certainly be a replacement for a meal, something that fills your stomach on a busy day, but chaat is made of moments when the puri breaks apart in your mouth, a medley of flavors explodes on your tongue and reminds you of when you climbed up trees on hot summer days to pluck imlis on a tree and savor it. Chaat is an emotion. Street food is just to fill your belly. The well-traveled gourmand, Chef Anthony Bourdain, once said, "I've long believed that good food, good eating is all about risks. A study into the migration patterns of those hailing from Uttar Pradesh is a true testament of Bourdain's words. The early immigrant who ventured into the northern and western states of the country in the 12th century in search of livelihood was ready to take risks as he put up the first thela to sell a variety of chaat and street food that he grew up eating." North versus South. One thing about chaat and street food, a fact that glared right at me when I was doing research for this project, was that we can find chaat abundantly in North, Central, East, and West India, while South India has little to no chaats. It was perhaps the extreme cold or hot climate of the North and West that made them want to reach out for a hot plate of aloo tikki or a cooling bowl of papdi chaat, accompanied by a tall glass of lassis in the bylanes of Mathura. While in South, you will find ample street food from deep-fried vades, podi-splattered dosa, parota, and bondas. Additionally, dairy, which comprises of yogurt, is a big part of chaat, is not widely used in South India, as much as it is used in North India. In fact, according to historians, North Indians and Western Indians consume far more milk and milk products than South Indians. This has something to do with a certain gene mutation which allowed North Indians to digest milk better than those in South India. Besides this, one look at India's lesser-known street foods such as Burmese atho from Chennai, Darjeeling's Lal Aloo Wai, Sikkim Sel Roti, Indore's Egg Banjo, Uttarakhand's Kumaoni Badas, and many more are must-tries in India. Now, this is my favorite subject, the origin of the great Indian samosa. In Nimmatnama, written in Naqsh, a cursive Arabic scripture, during Giyat Shah's reign and added to by his son Nasir Shah, rulers of the independent Malwa Sultanate. The Sultanate had Turkic origin and settled in the central part of India, which is present-day Madhya Pradesh. During this time, there were Central Asian influences pouring into Indian cuisine. Those could be samosas. One of the most interesting facts I found in my research around the history of Indian street food is the mention of samosas. Back then, the fried flour pasties resembling the current-day samosas were stuffed with a variety of meats like beef and venison. But Shah's version was even more elaborate with minced meat, mashed fennel, cumin, salt, cloves, coriander seeds, musk, rosewater, ginger, onion, perhaps even a little bit of camphor, folded into a triangular parcel, skewered and fried in ghee. Samosa are therefore named after Samsa, the Central Asian pyramids, and referred to as sanbusak, sambusak, or even sambusaj over the centuries in various cookbooks. The form and shape today of Indian street food and chaat. This is not the first time in Indian history that diners are at the brink of a colossal shift in our attitude towards Indian street food and chaat. Today, from the Northeast Indian momos being available in South India to the streets of Surat thronging with avocado toast, this is definitely that time for my generation when we are witnessing a revision in approach towards how we look at Indian street foods and chaats. While concepts like chaat and kebab rolls were considered lowbrow and fit for the streets, fine dining restaurants have embraced every facet of Indian cuisine in a more wholesome manner. So for me, new Indian street food is dropping old stories and stereotypes. It is invested in finding a new meaning for itself. It is looking to rebel with a cause, yet guard its history, and is in a constant mood for exploration. Thank you.